Hello, I'm a game developer, and welcome to the first devlog of this game I've been working on for the past few months. It looks kinda like this. It's a roguelike platformer action game, and before I show you the features that are here and the questionable things I'm adding, let me tell you about how I started making this game and my initial idea. So, to provide some context, I've been making games for about 2 years now. I've made a lot of small and dumb games and joined a ton of game jams, but I haven't really made any long-term projects with a bigger scale yet. And I thought I had enough experience now that I could manage something like that. But what kind of game was I gonna make? Well, at the time, I was playing a lot of games Space Gladiators. It's an action platformer roguelike thingy, and it's probably one of my favorite roguelikes I've played. It has a fun combat system that's like Hollow Knight but much faster, and it's made by the dev who made Rotato, another one of my favorites, so it has a very similar upgrade system with lots of interesting drawbacks and goofy concept that I'm a huge fan of. So I thought I would make it my primary inspiration going into this. But how am I going to provide my own spin on it? Well, that's where my other inspiration for this project comes in. It's this old game jam game I made called Dandy the Dino Hunter. It's actually very mid since I really overscoped, and I even have the scores to prove it, but it has a style-based scoring system where hitting headshots and deflecting bullets increases your score, and I thought that would be a cool way to make my game unique. Besides, it makes a nice excuse to reuse the player code from that game. So, moving on to the actual game, the first thing I wanted to nail down was the upgrade system, since I made a few similar projects before, and that was the thing I struggled the most with. I want to add lots of different upgrades as I develop this game, so I needed something that lets me make upgrades efficiently. Thankfully though, after watching a few YouTube tutorials, and admittedly too many rewatches, I was able to get something that worked pretty well. I just had to set a few numbers for basic stat upgrades, and for more complicated stuff like this Stink Cloud upgrade, I just added a separate scene file. And my favorite part is that if I ever want to add a new type of upgrade, I could just code in the logic and define it as a new class of the upgrade. The next thing to tackle was the levels. Since it's a roguelike, it needs to be randomized. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, like generating a procedural dungeon with shops and all that, but I decided to go for an easy solution by just making a few dozen room layouts and transporting you to a random one every level, no diverting paths or anything. Funnily enough, it used to be even more basic. At first I thought the whole game would take place in this one room with no obstacles, and the only thing that changes will be the enemy spawns that progressively get harder, kinda like in Rotato. But since this is a platformer game, not having different levels to platform around was just too boring. Ooh, speaking of enemies, here are some of the basic ones I made. There's this pickle guy that just walks around and does damage on contact, which I decided I will indicate with these red glows, since that's what Space Gladiators does. And this flying bird that shoots projectiles towards your position, which can be deflected for extra damage. And this orange slime thing that just charges at you. I even added this legally distinct bullet bill. If you couldn't tell, these are all themed off of random things that came up in my head. Which sort of brings me to talking about the art of my game. I wanted something unique about my art style to make the game stand out, and my first thought was to make it as colorful as possible. And after going through a few ideas, I eventually landed on this style, where the floor and walls are made up of two different tile sets, which are tinted in different colors. And the background is a scrolling pattern that I also changed from room to room. I even added these background props that can also be tinted to match the floor colors. The art for the characters are a lot more self-explanatory, but the style for them actually shifted quite a bit during development. At first, I drew all the characters in this hand-drawn, mouse-drawn style, which looked a bit wobbly, but serviceable. But around this time, I was also really starting to get into vector art. I was already using vectors for the upgrade icons, but I eventually started using it for the character art too, since I thought it just looked better. As a result, some of the sprites in the game look slightly different from each other, but I'm still happy about the decision I made, but I might have to redo some of the mouse-drawn ones. After a month or so, I finally got all the basic mechanics done in a stable shape. I had enemy spawns, upgrades, level generation, and I even made 20 or so upgrades. But my game also started to go through a bit of an identity crisis. Remember the start of the video when I said I'll have a style-based scoring system based on things like headshots and deflecting attacks? Yeah, I might have slowly abandoned that idea. It just didn't quite align with my vision for the game. I wanted to make a game where there was a big focus on strategically picking the right upgrade for the situation and making your stats stronger. The style-based system could be fun in a more action-focused game, but here I just thought it wouldn't really work. If that's the case though, is the stat progression actually fun? Well, not really. I said I have 20 or so upgrades, but all of the effects are pretty slight, which is intentional since I want to let people stack lots of upgrades together. But that makes it very hard to get too excited about any single upgrade. It doesn't help that most of them are also really generic and uninteresting in concept. Like, I have this one that raises your critical hit chance, and I have this other thing that also increases your critical hit chance, but makes your attacks like 15% thinner. Then I have this other upgrade that increases your crit chance, but this one decreases your critical damage by 10%. Wow. Clearly I needed a way to make the stat progression more exciting. But how exactly? Well, here's the solution I came up with. Every few rooms you go through, you'll encounter a special event room. These will have no enemies, but instead, you can find an NPC that you can talk with, and they'll offer a special deal for you. These act like much more extreme upgrades that give you a huge stat boost or a strong perk, but come with a heavy drawback. So yeah, it's just kinda like Slay Spire question mark rooms, but this made the upgrade system a lot more fun. Since these are strong but specific, you'll want to carefully pick upgrades that go well with them, so make the normal upgrades more fun too. The addition of NPCs was also fun. It gives me a way to add some charm to the game. Here are some of my favorites. And before I end the video, I actually still have one last thing to talk about. I still haven't decided on a name for this game. The first name I thought of was Dandy D. Donovan and the Dimensional Drama of the Diabolical Demons, or DDD for short. I was sort of going for a Captain Underpants type title with all the D's, and I did like this one, but it just got really annoying having to call it every time. So right now I'm calling it Dandy the Dimensional Demolisher. I wanted to keep dimensional in the title since my game takes place in an alternate dimension, but this one just feels generic, so for now I'm planning to switch it to Dandy's Dimensional Drama, which I think fits better, since the plot of the game is that you're a washed-up movie star that's partaking in an action show which is in the alternate dimension, which I promise will make sense when I explain the plot in the next vlog. Anyway, I'm still not quite sure about the title though, so if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. And with that, yeah, thanks for watching. I hope to release a demo in the next vlog for playtesting. But in the meantime, I might upload a short or two, maybe, potentially. Don't quote me on that. And yeah, that's it. Bye.